You're live.
Am I live?
Yeah.
Does my hair look good?
Yeah, here looks great.
Okay, welcome to the Doris Ranch. I'm going on a run this morning. You guys are going to watch this week's show. We're going to go back and look at the last part of 1968 in Eugene. You're going to have fun with that. And then we're going to take you to the Wallowa Mountains this week and next week. One of the most beautiful places on the planet. If you haven't been there, well, just stick around because that's where you're going to go. I got to go. I'm not dead. That sounds like something interesting. Hi, I'm Rick Dancer. We're about to set off on a little adventure. Just you, me, my wife, the Chevy Tahoe, 2 bikes, and the Sony DVD cam. We're going to Wallowa County. That's the most northeastern county in the state of Oregon. You know that little section that sticks out into Idaho? This is it on a map right here, Wallowa County right there. Now, I did call ahead and warn some of the folks that were coming. We're going to be here for 6 nights, and then we'll bring it back and boil it down into 30 minutes. Ready to go? Few people simply pass through Wallowa County. It's not a highway to any place else, but a road to a particular destination. A part of Oregon many valley dwellers have heard of, but few have experienced for themselves. Pictures, video, and the interviews you will see can entice you, but in person, Wallowa County will connect you.
I really don't think that there's been a new stick-built house built in Lostane in probably 40 years.
Small slow traffic as visitors make their way to the end of the pavement, to the very edge of Oregon. Those who live here will fight to keep it this way. Slightly touched, underdeveloped, wild, and unknown.
No, we're very clannish. We don't come to visit, that's fine, but don't.
A county with not one stoplight. Not one. Fast food, not welcome either.
People here don't want fast food. The local restaurants, everybody has their favorite. And they don't branch out a lot.
What is Wallowa County? Who lives here?
What you see is around here.
Who stays in this land commonly known as Switzerland of America. 3,152 square miles of craters, prairie, hillsides, rivers, and those mountains. 7,220 folks call this county home. That's fewer than live in the city limits of Cottage Grove.
I've lived here all my life and been what you call a hillbilly all my life.
Not everyone is a self-proclaimed hillbilly. Most simple, independent people.
I think the pace of life here. It's kind of kicked back, not very frantic, you know.
Small towns? You bet.
For me, it's still the lifestyle, the surroundings, and the people. I just enjoy it here.
A place where wide open space is more important than a savings account. A spot you eke out a living, much like those before you did.
I do odd jobs for people. I did. I've kind of quit doing that.
Few complain. It's the cost of living here. Wallowa Lake brings the tourists, always has. Legends of a monster 180 feet long living at the bottom of that lake, not enough to scare people away. First sighting, 1885. The last, later. Quiet for now. As we visit the different towns, you will hear reoccurring themes.
I live in that subdivision up there, and we got a bunch of outsiders moved in there. I can't say that I'm happy about the situation at all.
Don't be offended. What do you think of liberals?
Not too good.
Those mountains, this land, worth protecting. But keep your ideas to yourself. What do you think of environmentalists?
Ooh, we don't like environmentalists.
The old, the new, protected, guarded by tradition and those mountains. Wallowa County, the not-so-wild West, the edge of Oregon.
We're at the end of the road. We're the end of the road.
It's a place you come back to.
One of the things when people hear about women's space, the first thing they think of is our crisis line and our safe house. And those are the primary services. A lot of people are shocked that we do anything else.
Hi, this is Michelle. Hi, Michelle. A friend gave me this number and said that I needed to call Women's Space.
One of the other really powerful things we do through all of our other services is we connect survivors with other survivors.
I'm not afraid to tell other women that if they come here, that they're gonna find help and that they're really gonna be able to start living a life in a different way that they've ever lived.
They see each other in our support groups and everything. When they go to the economic empowerment groups, they see them doing these great things. They realize they're not alone. And then at the breakfast, our community is going to get to see our survivors and all the wonderful services that Women's Space provides, and they're going to be able to see how they can connect and how they can support us, whether it be financially, volunteering, or whatever it may be. Maybe it is you have an apartment complex, you have jobs that are available. Let us know. It's the connections. It's the connections, us connecting with them. And our community connecting with Women's Space and the survivors and the work we do.
Dr. Fryfield.
Hey, Rick.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Good to see you.
Who's this guy?
Oh, this is my dad, Sam. Lives here in Eugene. In fact, my dad's an 18-year prostate cancer survivor.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. I'm a prostate cancer survivor too, and it's nice to know people go 18 years and longer. So tell me, I got a question for you. Can I ask you a prostate cancer?
Sure,
I hate to interrupt you, but
Oh.
I got to ask him a question, if that's okay with you. So if I'm being treated for prostate cancer, should I tell my friends and family that I'm going through the treatment?
Well, the short answer is yes. This is a difficult time in a guy's life, and he needs to enlist the support of those around him. That's why we have friends. That's why we have family. So there's a tendency sometimes, a hesitation, maybe a tendency to want to control that a little bit.
Well, I'm kind of embarrassed a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I can understand that. I really can. But ultimately, I think I always encourage guys to go ahead and just let their family know. You know, the fact is they're going to know eventually, and how are they going to feel about it if they don't hear about it for a while? So you have to pick the right time, the right place, and just talk about how you feel about things. And ultimately, every guy that I've encouraged to do that has come back and said, yeah, you were right. I feel much better now that I've told my family.
All right. So do you guys get together often?
Every week. This is a standing lunch date on Fridays, and we have a circuit around town, and yeah, that's what we do.
Well, thanks for letting me interrupt your lunch. It was nice to meet you, and thanks for being here, because it makes me feel a lot better about this.
So it's a time machine for people to be able to look at those things, to handle the things that have been handled by people over the centuries. And with visual media, like in this collection or any other moving image collections, it's even intensified because you're seeing the images that were recorded in 1968 of Steve Prefontaine on the track, or of Dave Frohnmeyer in 1973 with his plaid jacket talking about grass seed burning, or about the Rajneeshis, you know. So it transports you back to a time. But then it also, I mean, so that's pretty cool. But from a research standpoint, it represents a source of information that isn't available anywhere else. It's not like this stuff is just magically on YouTube. Or, you know, this is it. This is the only copy that has survived. So if you want to see Steve Prefontaine's memorial service at Hayward Field, you have to come to us to get it, and we're happy to make it available to you. We can put it on YouTube, but it's not like it's already out there somewhere. So we take that very seriously with all of the materials that we bring in. We're really looking at forever. That's our charge, is we want to make sure that in 100 years, whatever we're taking in now is the equivalent of that Oregon Trail diary that's still available for a 7-year-old kid, you know, 150 years from now, to be like, oh my gosh, this pneumatic videotape from 1978.
Clearwater Park, where the boat ramp is the halfway mark. So that's 4 miles if you stay on the trail. If you go through Doris Ranch, you can get about a 9-mile run by the time we're done. What I love about this place is you're running along this middle fork of the Willamette River, which really has never been seen by people until a year or so ago when they made this trail. This is where the divider comes off. This used to be the old mill race that went down into Springfield. So now what we're going to do, talking about old, we're going to go back and look at the last part of our series on 1968. This was done back at KEZI in 1993. So even it's dated, but so are you and me. So what do you care?
KEZI TV, Eugene.
Tonight, the final chapter of Remember When, flashback to 1968 with narrator Rob McMichaels and editor Bill Getz. In this episode, we look at the future through the eyes of people 25 years ago. First, a glimpse of some popular culture, 60s style.
If you're over 30 and grew up in Eugene, you might remember 1968 as the year the Batmobile came to town. A promotional tour for the TV show. Don't ask me where Batman and Robin are. Maybe they were on vacation. Maybe they left their keys in their car. The 1968 home show announced, the future is here. For eWeb, that meant nuclear power.
There are many benefits of having a plant located in this area, not only the fact that it is a power producer for the power that the people here need and must have. We feel
Byron Price was the manager of eWeb, was a real whiz kid, very sharp, and he wanted to build a nuclear power plant on the shore of Fern Ridge Reservoir. And in 1968, the voters of Eugene approved gave eWeb authorization for a $225 million bond issue to do just that.
The project never got off the ground. Voters changed their minds and put a roadblock in its way. And eWeb eventually gave up on the idea. 1968, the future is here. Clean energy, clean air. Did I say clean air?
People today can't imagine how bad how bad it was in Eugene during the field burning. I mean, visibility in Eugene would literally get down to less than a block.
And I was driving down Highway 99. And I looked out over at the airport and I couldn't see it.
One of the great ironies is that the city of Eugene is officially protesting as a city against the practice of field burning, and they leased the fields adjacent to the runways at Mail and Sweet to grass seed growers who, at the end, after they'd harvested their crop, would burn their fields. They eventually, I think, realized that was sort of a public relations fiasco and quit doing that. It ultimately culminated with, I think it was that year or the next year, Mayor Les Anderson and some other city officials going up to Salem and getting Tom McCall and bringing him back down here and taking him up the top of Skinner Butte, from whence you couldn't see anything because of the clouds of field burning smoke. He said, "This is terrible, it's got to stop."
1968, the future is here. For the city of Eugene, that meant a downtown mall and something called urban renewal.
And Dave Hunt was the man who was going to lead Eugene into urban renewal.
Now, one of the main features of the plan last night was the organization of the retail into a shopping mall with major stores located on each end of this and closing traffic between 8th and 10th and generally between Oak and Charnelton.
I think the mall was a great idea. What a lot of people don't remember is that the downtown urban renewal project was a whole lot more than the Eugene Mall. The mall was sort of the sex symbol of it, the thing that helped sell it to people. It got rid of the really rotting infrastructure. I mean, we still had combined storm and sanitary sewers downtown, and which meant that every time we had a big rain, the basements of all the stores got full of you-know-what.
We are in the last hours of a harrowing, fearful, dangerous, and frustrating year. It must surely be recorded as one of the most dramatic years in the entire history of this republic. We need not leaf through the calendar's pages to remember. Our memories are green with 1968's terrible antitheses of agony and joy, of death and life, of despair and hope. We have had our contrasts, and now we might ask, have we learned from them?
No, we never learned from the past. I mean, it's we just keep going on making the same mistakes over and over, I think.
Yeah, I wish I could have those 25 years over again.
I think for a whole generation of people whose values were shaped at that time, that as a society we are better off. And history is whom we become. What happened yesterday becomes tomorrow. It is true. Here we are 25 years later, and don't we look swell?
It's interesting that people with speech difficulties, stuttering, whether it's stuttering or an R sound or anything like that, for some reason, it seems like people think that there's something else wrong with the person, like maybe they're not very smart.
I'm Elias, and I'm 7 years old, and my grade is 2nd.
Some of these kids might grow out of their speech problems given time, but the question is, what's going to happen to them in the meantime? Are they going to be, given a self-image that is just not positive,
I couldn't get the quite right R, and I didn't have the right position with my tongue.
Let's give me your best there.
Ooh,
hey, that was good. That was really good.
Teachers are really nice, and they play games with you and they have you do pretty easy stuff to make you do your R's right, and whatever you're working on.
Yeah, STHR, those are the ones that tend to be the more problematic ones. Well, it's very treatable. Most kids, we talked earlier about how long it takes. That can vary, but 6-8 months, up to a year sometimes.
I thought it was gonna be like blah, 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 this big sheet of paper that you have to read all these words, blah, 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 and work on your own. the whole time you're there.
It's kind of weird being with Elias today because I sounded just like that. My O's came out like this, and I couldn't change it. You know, I mean, my mom and dad would tell me how they were teachers, so they tried to get me to learn how to speak better, but they weren't trained in how to do it. So this speech therapist worked with me every day and taught me how to correct my R's so that I could say Rick Dancer.
Yeah.
Nowadays the thinking is really if there's a problem, which means if we can determine that the child is significantly behind where they should be for their age, the earlier the better, really.
Well, see, I used to get teased a lot. I think we've learned something since then. It sounds like people aren't as teased as much, but I was teased relentlessly because people would come up and say, you know, you O's, and they'd make fun of you, and Wiki can't say his name, and you know, stuff like that. And as a little kid, it was terrible. It started I was quiet and shy, believe it or not, anyway. And I think that kind of played a role in that because I didn't want to communicate. Because when I did, it was a buffer between me and saying an actual word. So I didn't talk as much when I was a little kid like that.
The teachers are smart, and they make up a way to make kids feel at home with working on their R's or whatever.
I think that's the thing that's exciting sitting in there watching Elias is, you know, we have to be able to communicate. And that's what Eugene Hearing and Speech Center is all about, is learning to communicate with other people, whether it's hearing or talking. And anything that stands in your way can be an obstacle to being who you really are.
Yes, she is. And by the way, that was really good with your, actually the first time you said it was just the best.
When you drive through Wallowa, the first town as you cross the county, no, this is rural Oregon. 800 people live in this town.
Wallowa, you learn that when you first come here.
Kathy Shoemaker is a newcomer, moved here from Lake Tahoe, bought the pizza/video store on Main Street.
Don't get too close. A slower lifestyle. Lake Tahoe, a lot of tourists, busy all the time.
Debbie Lind is also a newcomer. Oh, by the way, if you don't have a few generations connected to Wallowa County, you're a newcomer.
It's jeans and boots and, you know, nothing real fancy. You don't have to have a tux.
Debbie works at the pharmacy.
We cannot buy underwear here. If you want underwear, you go to Deb's and Enterprise or Walmart an hour away.
There's a high school, the Main Street, some cool shops in town, but not a lot to make a tourist stop and stay. That can be a problem if you own a business.
We have a lot of traffic going from here through to Joseph, which is the touristy town. And can I say this? No one here wants it to become a town, but we have so much traffic going through, we just need them to stop and patronize our businesses and buy a few things, and we're happy with that to keep going and keep our simple way of life.
Judy Taylor opened a tea shop. Great place, lots to offer. Getting folks to stop, easy.
You know, we have the railroad here now, and they do the excursion trains. That's drawn a lot of people to here, but they go on the excursion train, and they leave to go and spend their money somewhere else because there's anything else here to do that.
The library, you already got the library?
This group of ladies is doing its best to sell the town to me, so I'll sell it to you. But how do you market simplicity?
When I first moved here, I needed a tomato. And so I walked downtown thinking I could get a tomato. But everything closed up at 7, so you want a tomato, you got to get it before 7.
And what do you do when others in town don't want change, don't want people, don't want tourists?
I would say it's maybe half and half.
You've got a problem.
They're afraid it's going to get too big and they're not going to enjoy being here anymore, and it's going to be overrun with too many people and they won't get to relax and fish in their favorite spot by themselves.
Trade-offs to progress? Is it? No one's quite sure, so they hold. Just down the road a bit is a place called Lostine. Not Lostine, but Lostine. Not a lot here.
You got one tavern, and you got one grocery store, and you got a post office. That's all we need.
Tell me your name and your nickname.
Lowell D. Armin, and my nickname is Shark.
So I got to ask you, why do they call you?
Okay, they call me Shark because back when I was logging, they pinned that name on me, and it stuck.
Shark. an unofficial town crier.
It's a tiny little town. We love it.
Don't forget the Blue Banana Espresso Shop. You can't miss it. You won't forget it. Coffee's darn good, too.
We love it here. This is just home.
M. Crow and Company is a constant in Lostine. It's been here 100 years. The same family started it. Yeah, that's them. Well, it's just a picture.
It's an easy existence, easy way of life. People are who they seem to be. There's no pretense.
That's Keith Bird. He's family. Marriage to the picture people. The store feels like it's an episode of Back to the Future.
98, 94. I think I'll just give you 100 if that's okay.
Political posters on the wall as if the race were still on. Empty seats around the store are filled in the morning. Guys talking about stuff. Don't need a guy like me in these parts. Everybody's a reporter here.
Anybody that employs 20 or 30 people is a major employer around here.
Locals can go 30 days without a nickel on them. Don't need it. The store doesn't take Visa, MasterCard, or debit, whatever that is. It's credit the old-fashioned way, on a ledger card.
They're beginning to put in the services real soon here. There's a 10-acre subdivision that's going to have 10 5-acre parcels to it. And if we're going to have a boom, this is probably the big one.
Bringing city folk in, not a popular arrangement in these parts.
Growth? It's a big, scary word.
Well, they try to bring their city ways with, and then they try to tell us how to live and what to do. Don't like it.
In a place where a 14-year-old can still ride her horse through town and doesn't need a plastic bag to pick up the mess after the horse, city ways are a threatening question.
All they see is asphalt. They don't know crap from wild honey, and they're just city folks. Can't say I'm crazy about them.
Self-service goes out the door when too many people come to town. Lostine likes things just the way they are. A place where tractors parked on Main Street won't attract a look. Lostine.
It's such a kind of a unique area that people just have to come see, but it's not on the way to anywhere. You can't get anywhere else from here without, diving off in a canyon somewhere. And I've joked about it for a long time that the pavement kind of does stop here.
But not quite. We've got a couple of miles to go after the break.
So people ask me, Rick, why do you get up in the morning and go exercise? And why do you do the stuff that you do? Because you're always out there running and stuff. And you know what it is? It's after cancer. It's because I can. And besides, it's a lifestyle for me. And what else can you get up in the morning and see that? So that's it for this edition of Rick Dancer TV. Join us next week because we're going to show you the rest of the Wallowa Mountains. I got to finish my run. It was great seeing you. Good night.